Ukraine says fighting in the eastern Donbas region has reached a new intensity, with the Russians attacking more than 40 towns. The US says that China remains the biggest challenge to the international order, despite the immediate threat posed by Russia.
Telegraph reads, fears for chippies as ministers prepare to ban Russian fish is one of the headlines. Newspaper says ministers are preparing to hit Russian seafood imports with trade tariffs, all part of a new wave of sanctions following its invasion of Ukraine.
The government of Ukraine says fighting in the eastern Donbas region has reached a new intensity, with the Russians attacking more than 40 towns and storming Ukrainian positions in several areas. Among the Russian forces who've been fighting are two brothers, whose mother has now spoken to the BBC, claiming they were conscripts despite President Putin's assurance that only professional soldiers have been deployed. She spoke to our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg.
This is how Moscow portrays its soldiers in Ukraine, as professionals. But away from the official images, some here tell a different story. Marina, not her real name, has agreed to tell me her story. Two of her sons are conscripts. The Kremlin promised that conscripts wouldn't be sent to Ukraine, but her sons were deployed close to the border. When Russia invaded, she lost contact with them.
For me, time stopped. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. I messaged mothers of other conscripts from the same unit. Many of them had lost contact with their children too. I got into the car and started searching for my sons. On the phone, one of their commanders insisted they were on military exercises in the fields. I said, I have driven round all the fields where there were exercises. They're not there. Please don't lie to me. He hung up.
Fearing her sons were dead or injured, Marina went to a military hospital. No sign.
There wasn't enough medicine or bandages. Local residents supplied everything. The soldiers there were cold and hungry.
Eventually, an admission from the military. Her sons had gone into Ukraine.
I was told the terrifying news. Your children have signed contracts to be professional soldiers. They are taking part in the special military operation. They will return as heroes. I said, what on earth are you talking about? They had no plans to sign a contract. They've been in the army for 3 months. They've only held a gun once.
Призывников нет ни одного.
Vladimir Putin had said there wasn't a single Russian conscript in Ukraine. The authorities later backtracked. Marina filed a complaint. It was upheld. Her sons hadn't signed any military contract. They were brought back to Russia.
When my younger son came out, I called him and said, Son, I'm coming to get you. Is there anything you need? He said, Mum, I don't need anything. Just you. When I saw him, he looked like a total mess. The lads that came back from there were so thin, dirty and exhausted. Their clothes were all torn. My son said it's better that you don't know what happened there, but all that mattered to me was that he had come back alive.
Human rights groups say there are still Russian conscripts in Ukraine. The Kremlin says it ordered an investigation into officials who allowed them to be sent there.
They lied to my face. Officers lied, sergeants lied. But I'd like to believe that our president, the commander-in-chief, just isn't aware of the mess and chaos in the army. I want to tell him that not everything here is like they say it is on television.
Marina says her sons came back different people. They've stopped believing in a bright future. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Russia.
Ukraine's foreign minister has pleaded for more heavy weapons from the West, saying the situation in the Donbas region, the eastern Donbas region, is worse than people realise. This comes after Russian forces intensified their bombardment in the east of the country. Let's talk to our correspondent, Joe Winwood, who's in the capital, Kyiv. Joe, good to see you. What does President Zelensky mean that the situation is worse than people realise?
Well, I think he's referencing the incredible pressure that his forces are under in the east of the country. The Russians are trying to encircle these two towns, Severodonetsk and Lysychansk, And they are doing it. They're coming from the east, from the north, from the south. They've encircled them there, and they're trying to come from the west as well and cut off the supply lines. But he didn't just reference that. He said that the Russians are trying to burn the Donbas to the ground, to make it uninhabitable. He even accused the Russians of trying to carry out a genocide against people in the region. They are really struggling, the Ukrainians here. I think it is, you can see that from the tone of the statements that we're getting from President Zelensky, from his advisors. The battle is looking increasingly difficult. The Russians are making advances. I think they're having to hope that they can hold off and hold them off for as long as they can until more heavy weaponry can come in from the west. But time is running out for the defenders of Lysychansk and Severodonetsk.